Hi, I'm Dr. Tim Gale, and this is a presentation on the tourist area life cycle, one of the best known and most widely applied models in tourism studies. In this presentation, I will review key concepts and theories in and related to destination development, focusing on the aforementioned tourist area life cycle and the sequence of events that it depicts. I'll also highlight some applications and criticisms of this model. The tourist area life cycle, or TALC for short, was proposed by the geographer Richard Butler in a paper published in 1980 in the journal Canadian Geographer. It offers an answer to a very important question: why do destinations rise and fall in popularity? The model assumes that the number of tourists visiting a destination will, over an extended period of time, follow a pattern similar to that of the product life cycle in classical marketing theory, where, after the product is launched onto the marketplace, sales increase, reach a peak, and then decline to the point that, unless something is done to resurrect consumer interest, the product is withdrawn from sale. It has been used many times and in a variety of contexts, too many to mention, and remains essential reading for tourism scholars and students some 4 decades after it first appeared. In applying this birth-to-death cycle to tourist destinations, Butler identifies a number of distinct stages that a destination will pass through, as depicted in the following animation. On this graph, the x-axis represents time, the independent variable, and the y-axis the number of tourists, the dependent variable, with the relationship between the two variables conceived as an S-shaped or asymptotic curve. In the exploration stage, the fledgling destination's unspoiled qualities attract the first tourists, who are few in number and adventurous or independent in nature. Little or no tourist infrastructure exists at this point in time. Soon, resident entrepreneurs begin to address the lack of facilities for tourists and start promoting their services to outsiders. Access to the destination is improved, for example, new road and rail links, and a clearly defined recreational business district emerges where the majority of accommodation and entertainments are located. Following the involvement stage, more and more staying visitors are attracted to the destination to the point where they outnumber residents during the high season. The development stage, as it is known, sees external investors such as national and international hotel chains, transport companies, and tour operators take a larger stake in the destination. Towards the end of this stage, the capacity of the destination is reached, and the costs of attracting additional tourists outweigh the benefits. Eventually, the rate of growth slows, by which time the built and natural environments are under visible stress, tourist satisfaction is diminishing, and hosts become less accepting of tourism and tourists. This indicates that the destination has reached the consolidation stage. Thereafter, visitor numbers stop growing as the destination's carrying capacity is exceeded, with negative environmental and social consequences. Occupancy rates fall, as do bookings from first-time visitors, resulting in a high turnover of tourism businesses. Unfashionable and uncompetitive, the destination now finds itself in the stagnation stage. After that, a variety of outcomes are possible. The most likely outcome is the decline stage, where arrivals and expenditures fall to historically low levels, and premises lie empty or are converted to other uses. More optimistically, the rejuvenation stage sees a resumption of the previous upward trend in visitation, thanks to investment in the product, for example, new and refurbished accommodation, and success in repositioning the destination to appeal to alternative markets, such as business travelers and special interest tourists. Other outcomes are possible, as represented here. Incidentally, it took cold water resorts in the UK and Northern Europe some 150 years to pass through all of the stages of the life cycle, but only around 50 years for warm water resorts in Mediterranean countries such as Spain to do the same. An alternative life cycle is proposed by Roy Wolf, who suggests that in the formative years of a destination's development, the environmental and economic impacts of tourism are both, on balance, positive. However, the net effect of the former and then the latter eventually becomes negative, as excessive visitor numbers give rise to environmental degradation, revenues are leaked to organisations outside of the local economy, and operating costs spiral within the destination. This relationship follows a rather pessimistic trajectory known as the Ellis curve. A case in point is the Spanish resort of Torremolinos, indicative dates for which are overlaid on this diagram. The lesson of the life cycle is that decline is inevitable for any destination unless action is taken early enough to address the root causes. That is, to make it more competitive in relation to alternative destinations that are taking away market share, and to upgrade and update an aging product to maintain its attractiveness and appeal to contemporary tourists. The cycle reflects product and market changes over many years, from year-round, natural, and relatively enduring attractions to highly seasonal and ephemeral man-made attractions, from small-scale integrated developments to large-scale non-integrated developments, from embedded local capital to footloose external capital, from allocentric or wanderlust tourists to psychocentric or sunlust tourists, and from euphoric to antagonistic attitudes towards tourism on the part of hosts. Ian Gordon and Brian Goodall helpfully align the leading tourist typologies with the tourist area life cycle. This suggests that different types of tourists are visible in different stages of the talc, and alludes to down market drift as a possible reason for decline. They also make the link with deteriorating host responses to tourism over time, as hypothesized in Doxey's Irritation Index, or Iridex. A quick word on the concept of carrying capacity, given its significance to the talc. This is defined by Douglas Pearce as the threshold of tourist activity beyond which facilities are saturated, the environment is degraded, or visitor enjoyment is diminished. Put simply, there is an upper limit to tourism development. In practice, several carrying capacities can be identified, some tangible and quantifiable, for example the number of hotel bedrooms or car parking spaces, and others more subjective and difficult to measure, such as tourists' feeling about crowding in the destination. Types of carrying capacity include physical, psychological, biological, social, economic, and infrastructural. It is possible that as a destination develops, some of these will be exceeded before others. Hence Butler refers to a critical range of elements of capacity in his model. So is the tourist area life cycle any good? The answer depends on who you ask. Some, such as Martin Opperman, have praised the model, a brilliant example of how scientific progress could and should work, as probably the only model in tourism that has been scrutinized in many different contexts, with modifications suggested to fit specific situations and circumstances. Others, such as Neil Leiper, are damning in their appraisals. It should now be assigned to the archives of history as a former theory, now discredited, shown to be false. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. My take on the talc is that it's a compelling story of the development of destinations that serves as a warning not to overlook long-term sustainability in pursuit of the tourist dollar, but that it is of limited value as a predictive tool. As with any model or theory, which after all is a simplification of reality, we can recognize certain assumptions and shortcomings. Firstly, it's a resort model and doesn't work so well for destinations that predate tourism, for example world cities and historic towns. Secondly, The asymptotic curve is just one of several possible trajectories of development, and the sequence of stages is not a given. Destinations may, indeed, skip a stage. Thirdly, the moments or events that mark a break with one stage and the transition to another are poorly defined and difficult to verify empirically. Fourthly, the model is too abstract. The visitor economy of any destination is comprised of several different products, markets, and sectors, each exhibiting its own life cycle, which may be at odds with the overall picture. Fifthly, destinations are viewed in splendid isolation, with no provision for changes in generating regions or market areas. Finally, it equates a reduction in arrivals with failure or crisis, a misfortune if you will, and does not allow for some destinations purposively withdrawing from tourism, or taking the exit route, as Tom Baum puts it. There's no shortage of reading on the life cycle, including 2 volumes edited by Richard Butler himself. Of the works listed here, Sheila Argowell's paper in Annals of Tourism Research and Tom Baum's contribution to current issues in tourism build on the foundation provided by Butler and add nuance to our understanding of what happens to destinations after they reach maturity. Butler himself updates his ideas in Liu, Hall and Williams's A Companion to Tourism. Meanwhile, Tim Knowles and Simon Curtis apply the life cycle in their study of mass market resorts in Northern and Southern Europe at the turn of the century. Finally, Gareth Shaw and Alan Williams provide an informative account of how tourism places change over time, which draws heavily on Butler's ideas. Finally, a bit about me. I'm a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy and a lecturer and researcher based at Bournemouth University, specialising in coastal tourism resorts, new leisure and tourism spaces such as urban beaches and virtual worlds, and facility and service design in hospitality and tourism. If you've enjoyed the presentation, please leave a like or comment, or follow me on Twitter @TJGale, where you will find a link to my contact details in a pinned tweet. Thank you.